Yo, welcome back. Okay, like I said, we would be continuing off with the podcast. This is the second marathon on Project Jira, Rishav here, and the relief shelter for those without family, without a place to call home, and proper relations. So what we're here going to do is, there's actually two windows open, and usually we don't do this. That's because right now I forgot to commit to a little snippet. Should have been included in my previous video, but I forgot about that. But I assure you after this one, so in the next, 30 seconds, we'll get to all the podcasting stuff. So just very quickly on here, this is the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet to take all the notes. And I have here dead center is an entry, a little bit of reflections of applying a certain coping mechanism, right, that we spoke about yesterday. So using the analogy of the drum kit, the drum set. So that's the snare. This is the crash cymbals, and those are the kick drums, right? So and it just makes things that much more bearable when you are in a borderline violent household. So that's basically what that's all about, and I think it's working pretty well so far. I know that it's only a temporary. You could use the meme, right? Hashtag copium. That's basically what it is, right? But it's the drum set analogy works really well. And particularly for me, it certainly works really, really well because I used to listen to Slipknot and System of a Down. So when it comes to using heavy metal to sort of tune out everything, this is definitely a way to say if the house is a bass, then, well, every sound is just a normal, very exciting. It's actually a little bit amusing. So that's a way to spin on it and then it's a good strategy. All right. Now, I don't know, you can use whatever strategies you use. That's just mine. And I'm just throwing out there and saying that so far it's working pretty well, at least only for the past 12 hours. So it remains to be seen. That's just a first impression. Things never go out well over the long term, but we keep trying, we keep innovating, we keep trying to adapt. So moving on, we have here on the Castbox. So like I said, we're going to swap over to podcasting immediately. And this is what we're going to discuss over the next probably 18 minutes, just sharing a lot of interesting things and different platforms that we've been exploring. So I think we left off last time, yesterday. For me, it was just probably about 12 hours ago. For you guys, it will be literally a day beforehand, or, this will be punched out over one podcast, one video per day over the coming weeks or months. And so what we'll say is, I think we left out Podbean, and Podbean connected to WordPress. Both of those two platforms together make for a powerful dynamic because, again, every time you upload something that has a blog on WordPress, it automatically ends up reading through it and then posting it as a post over on Podbean. So then you basically get these automatically generated podcasts. So that is just amazing. But that's where we left off. We talked about plugins. I think we also covered a lot of guides on Radio Public. And then the most recent podcast that was related to podcasting in general was a bunch of blogs. So we went to Radio Public, and in fact, I can just show you right now here, Radio Public, directly from Spotify and Anchor, two businesses, partnering together, and one an acquisition. And as what it's allowed to do is provide this very comprehensive web page that has it's almost like a directory of almost 20 different, 100 plus different articles on 4 different stages. So from getting started, to growing, to improving, to monetizing your podcast, and so on and so forth. So obviously we're working through this kind of stuff in the meantime, and feel free to also share in your relatable experiences and all that kind of jazz as well. So let's just dive right into it. That's where we left off. The next platform here that was sort of marketed from, I believe, Spotify for podcasters is Castbox. Listen Top Shows blog. So welcome to Castbox. Please sign in with your Castbox account to continue. Sign in with Google, Facebook, Twitter, blah-de-da, all that jazz. Continuing, you accept policy and terms of agreement. I believe I ended up creating an account, and it's a free platform. You can actually go here and just create a podcast completely on your own, and it's got amazing features. I think this is one of those. This is not the predecessor. SoundCloud would be the predecessor. This would be the successor, I guess. That's the way I look at SoundCloud. It's kind of out of date, right? Everyone thinks of SoundCloud. It's like, oh, that OG from way back in 2008. And I do have a SoundCloud account, but it's definitely out of date. And it's most likely for music this is more focused for podcasting, but the way that I look at it, the format and the web design and the graphics for Castbox really reminds me of SoundCloud. Okay. So let's close that. You can see up here at the very bottom, we have the top buttons here for the account, for uploading, for searching. If you wanted to look for more podcasts and so on and so forth, you want to create an account, it's all there. Here is the listing. So I just closed that tab. We move on to basically I went ahead and searched and submitted my podcast. And so Relief Shelter, Project Jira, Live Reacts, 24/7 by On-Road, the CPTSD, AI, Artificial Intelligence, Sentient. It's a bunch of different things altogether, honestly. It's a really long title. Probably don't want to name a podcast this long, but that's what we're doing. So descriptions, creative reactions, content reviews, and discovery, and so on and so forth. I can see the description is up to date. It seems like, yes, the new description also has the new keywords: relief instead of respite, project with a C instead of the Polish, like with a K, project with a K because, again, inspired from Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Project CD Red, something along those lines. I can see also that the episodes, they have 10 released episodes here, so they are updating, in fact, on Castbox. They're using my RSS feed, and it's working. I'm very happy to see that. So let's move on. You can see sign in to comment, download from Google Play, download from App Store, blah-de-da. All right, next one. We're just kind of blow through. We're just going to fucking run straight through all these, man, because we have so much of these to go through. Like I said, the goal is to aim, in the previous video I said, we're aiming for 15 to 20 every single video, which means we only can spare 60 to 90 seconds per tab per platform. I know that I kind of failed in that regard. So anyways, it's gonna keep things a little fresh and exciting. All right, Relief Shelter, Project Zero. This is podcasters.spotify.com. Okay, again, this is the acquisition of Anchor. It's just another tab here that popped up. We actually covered this already in at least numerous times on multiple other previous podcasts. This one actually just popped up because, like I said, having 400 browser tabs saved, we just couldn't click on it. We couldn't access these tabs that are locked away on the side. So we'll close this one. We have a duplicate again for recording the episode, so there's no need to check that out. Welcome to Castbox. Once again, another duplicate, most likely because I have to sign in again. This one's definitely new. Knowledge base, no articles found. I'm a little bit curious as to why this is. I'm not sure why Castbox, has a button for the knowledge base if they don't have any articles here, but it's certainly very interesting. My area, sign in, home, search articles, forgot password, are you an agent or a member, blah de da, all that stuff, and you can sign in. Okay. All right. So different platform, iHeartRadio. We actually covered this in a previous podcast as well. Once again, we were just clicking through all the links and making sure that they work, so that, again, this is for SEO, search engine optimization, if I got that right. Basically, Google will rank your website higher depending on the quality and the connections of your site. So making sure that all your links are actually functional, none of them are kind of falling short, all that jazz. Anyways, that's why I ended up clicking on iHeartRadio to check and make sure that the link there is functional. You can see here the homepage, though, tells us all the genres that you like. We'll suggest stations just for you. So pop, French, country, rock, classic, soft rock, sports, news, talk shows, hip hop, all the stuff. It goes on and on. Classics, right? I used to really like classic music from probably like the 70s and 80s, stuff like that. Going down here, classical, also classical as well. That's interesting. So, of course, you can submit your stuff here to iHeartRadio. Let me check the time here, make sure we're not going too far off the rails. And we're good. So, this is good. So we have 9 minutes. We're only 9 minutes in and we covered about 10 tabs. Again, we got a real goal to hit now. So, podcasters.amazon.com. So this is for Amazon. And I thought this was amazing because amazing Amazon, a little punny there. I never thought that I could submit anything to Amazon, to be fair. That's because, it's such a large platform. You think of Amazon Kindle, wow, something people like millions of people listen to Amazon on their Kindle and stuff like that. So it's just it's a FAANG company, right? It's the top 6. You think of Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google. I don't usually think of myself being able to broadcast to a platform with this kind of audience because typically I thought they would need verification of email, 2-factor authentication. You have to make sure you have, a following, an audience of say 1,000 people, 2,000, 5,000 people, or so on and so forth. And apparently you don't need all that stuff. So that's really, really nice. So Amazon Music, podcasters, English on the side here. US, it says, grow your audience. Amazon Music for Podcasters provides analytics to help you gather insights on listeners engaging with your show and episodes, as well as how your audience grows over time. Amazon Music plus Audible, Podcaster FAQ, frequently asked questions, promotional tools, podcaster terms and conditions, so on and so forth. Introduce your podcast to our millions of global listeners. Add or claim your podcast via your stats. Okay, lots of very interesting stuff here. I can't say that. I shouldn't have showed that. So you have to sign in apparently to get that to view your stats. But I'm pretty sure the promotional tools and the podcaster FAQ you can access without. I'm gonna click on that, and hopefully it doesn't lead me to sign in. So no, it doesn't. Promotional tools. So marketing best practices, suggested messaging. Follow your podcast name on Amazon. Listen to your podcast name. Blah blah blah. Social templates. Add or listen to Amazon. Oh, this is sick. So if you have a website, you can add the listen to Amazon Music button over as an embed onto your WordPress page. So again, you could of course use a more minute like podcast, pocket casts, so on and so forth, but those are just not all as great because it's just a smaller platform, right? You want to use the bigger mainstream platforms for the most part. I don't know. Maybe it's not. It depends on your niche case. I kind of spoke out my ass right there, so I might be eating my words and taking that back. But yeah, that's how it is. So you can embed a button over to your blog website. So that's great. And again, we have 3 blogs here, so that's really great. I can't believe I'm actually making use of it, and I intend on sharing it. All right, exciting stuff. So we just talked about Amazon. Now we're heading to Google. This is Google Podcast Manager, Relief Shelter, Project Jira, Live Reacts. Once again, we see here the graphs. It's like, of course, there's like 0 plays, 0 minutes, and stuff like that. It's like throwing a canister of humility and just chugging it down. Chug some milk. You ever heard of that? Chugging milk at a bar instead of alcohol. Anyways, here. So you can see here, there's basically no analytics here to show. Of course, no, listen, it's very new. It's only been out for a week. And this is something I have to build off from other platforms. I'm not going to get a big audience just from podcasting. And if memory serves to right, so just yesterday when I was covering one of the many different blogs, and I was parched yesterday. There was so much. I hate covering blogs, man. Covering blogs means you have to read the entire, like at least 10% of the article and give some commentary on it. But one of those articles that we read yesterday was on, getting outside of your comfort zone as a creator, right? That you have to put on also the business cap and make sure that, trying to find the balance between the businessman within yourself and as well as the creative director within yourself. So not being too shy to ask, hey, here's a subscription plan, ask for people to pay money. That's something that I still have to work on. It's something that everyone has to improve on, I suppose, on the delivery. So that's one of the articles there. And so when it comes to this, obviously I recognize right now, there's not a whole lot of analytics to show for, but of course, eventually when we do get the ball running and we become more comfortable with marketing, that's something that we'll start to pick up. Anyways, the most important part is seeing this, that we do see the analytics dashboard, it's working. So this is very successful. I'm happy to see that the URL is working. Of course, before we couldn't say the same. Down here, processing multiple videos here that are shorts, learning how to market, automate. All these are processing. That's interesting. So let's take a pause here for a moment and dive into this more detail. This surprises me. So I can see here it says April 12th, 2023. So this would be about 4 days ago. Is still processing. And then the most recent podcast that's out is how we can now live stream to Twitter. That was on April 11th. So 4 days ago, it's still processing podcasts from 4 days ago, all the way through. So I have 6 podcasts here. Erwin versus Armin, that's for Attack on Titan. Learning how to market and automate. Shorts editing, backup plugins, so on and so forth. So they have 6 podcasts that are being processed right now. Okay. And then prior to the 11th, which is only roughly about 4 podcasts, we only started about a week and a half ago. Those are finished. So I think that's really interesting. When we compare what ends up being published on Google, comparing that to Apple iTunes, So when my podcasts are on Apple iTunes, and if you guys have podcasts yourself, you'll notice this. Basically, they get published pretty much within the next 30 minutes. So in half an hour, you don't have to wait a day. You don't have to wait even half a day. It's already published and updated, and you can actually listen to the podcast. But when it comes to Google Podcasts, you've actually got to wait almost half a week. You have to wait half a week before it actually can be listened to. So it goes to show, right? Obviously, one is focused, Apple iTunes, they're focused specifically on podcasting. They can get the deadlines out on time and immediately. It's very interactive and very speedy with the processing. Compare that to Google here. So I think we'll just knock on the tabs here. Podcast managers help. So view your listening performance. This is just a help center on support. I didn't even know that you could publish a podcast over on Google. I don't think there's a lot of people who listen to podcasts on Google anyways, but show your level. Again, it's the search engine, right? Important facts to know about your show data. An episode will appear in the table if it satisfies certain conditions. You need at least viewer permissions to see data. Episode data is retained for 16 months, so about a year and a quarter, and the first quarter. It takes about 1 to 2 days for new listing data to be displayed on Podcast Manager. Learn more about how the data is counted. Data is only shown as far back as 30 days before the show is claimed, even though the data is retained for 500 days, which is exactly about a year and a half. Show level charts, plays, minutes played, episodes table. An episode will show a processing label for a day or so after the Google first describes it, and so on and so forth. All right, bye. Just gotta keep moving, man. 60 seconds each. Right, we got 400. Manage your podcast and episodes on Google Podcasts. Here's another article from Google. So if you're a podcast publisher, here is how you manage your podcast on Google Podcasts. Related topics: how to manage your show, how to manage your feeds, add a podcast to Google, update your information, change the served feed, remove it from Google, move your feed, so on and so forth. Managing episodes, la-di-da. Again, you can learn all this stuff. This is all free information available. Just go over to just Google, literally, Google support. Google support. Think about that for a second. On the side here, we have some navigation panel, so you can get a good feel for the help articles they have. About podcast on Google, get your podcast on Google, monitor your podcast listening data, manage your podcast and episodes through Google Podcasts, troubleshooting, reference, policies, frequently asked questions, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's this page here. Again, you can search it up on the search engine, and then you get all these articles, and they're all very useful. Next, Podcast Manager. At this point, I just like to wipe my hands. It's getting a little sweaty right now. I notice it's probably about 15 minutes in. We can probably start to wrap this up. The episode's published data as specified in the feed is before or during the currently selected time period. The episode was on a served feed at some time, and that served feed was verified for this Podcast Manager show. So they're just covering the topic of RSS feed. RSS standing for, really simple syndication. And so that's basically how you get to distribute your podcast across all of these probably 25 to 50 and beyond different podcasts. So they all share the same feed. Make sure that the feed is, of course, working and functional, has, metadata and tags and whatnot. Okay. So about the table data, an episode will show a processing label for a day or so after the Google first discovers it. If the episode was published after the select time period, it will appear in the table where it's a zero data. Choose a later end date for your time period to see episodic data. It's limited to the time period selected, and episodes are identified by URL in the RSS feed. If an episode's URL changes, any new data will be associated with the new episode URL, and so on and so on, and you'll lose continuity of your data. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but yeah, okay. If you think an episode should appear in the table but doesn't, here are some troubleshooting tips. Remember that it takes 2 to 3 days for new data to appear in the Podcast Manager. If the episode is new, give it some time for listeners to find it, and so on and so forth. And below here, they have some terms that they define. Almost sounds like a legal thing, right? And I actually took like a legal course way back in the day. So anyways, plays, number of meaningful plays for an episode, plays in the first 30 days, average played, length, published, show discovery, and so on and so forth. And below here, we have the episode level page. Important facts to know about your episodes. Man, I don't know how long this thing goes on, but I can't cover everything. Troubleshooting. Let's just cover the headers. There's way too much information here. We can't cover everything. But embedded player, number of plays, and minutes played charts, episode level charts, audience retention charts. That's very important. Retention is probably key, right? How long are they listening? Ideally, you want them to listen through the entire episode, and that's the best way to get your stuff promoted, is to have people actually listen to your stuff all the way through, because then it shows up higher on the search engine. All right, so I'm looking at the time here, and we're about 20 minutes, so I think that's a good place to stop. And we're going to spend, again, another probably half hour just getting down the name for this particular podcasting video and so on and so forth. Yeah, and so we covered Google, Amazon, what else did we cover? Castbox. That was the major one for this entire video. And you can see here the next one is going to be Apple Podcast Connect, and so on and so forth. So we look forward to that, and in the next episode. And I think we managed to nail down at least 10 tabs, so I'm fairly happy about that. 10 is not really enough. I would say 15, but we did actually make it through about 15 tabs. So I'll see you in the next one, where we can talk more and about our research and our learning phase and the building of a podcast. And hopefully you guys can learn something from this as well and apply to your own podcasts and blah-de-da, or your own projects. If not, feel free to share what it is that you're working on, what your activities, your hobbies, relationships, your work, whatever it is. Always love to interact, engage with you guys. And as always, you can listen to this stuff over on a commute, right, through podcasting on your phone, or you can watch over on YouTube and as a video format if you want some visuals. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. This is Rishiv. I'm signing out, and I'll see you all in the next one when we cover Apple Podcast Connect. Peace out.